Hey everybody, Dr. Tim Turlip here with this installment of 3 Minutes to Vitality, and kind of an exciting topic to discuss. There was a current study that was just published actually in a journal called PLOS One Medicine, that looked at, it's a European study, and it used a fancy study, a body of information called the European Perspective into Cancer and Nutrition. And what they just published was in the study and compiling the data, was looking at people over the course of just under 16 years and looking at what people were eating and not eating and seeing what that actually did with relative and with the presentation of cancer during the course of that time and during the study. Well, it was pretty conclusive and again, pretty exciting, because what it showed was that people actually eat foods that are less nutrient dense. So they're lacking in nutrition, and dare I say, it could be things like 2 whole beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. For those of us who are old enough to remember that, it could be drop the chalupa. It can be all those neat kinds of processed foods that tend not to have a lot of nutrient density in them. What the study actually showed is that the people who actually are consuming low levels of nutrition in their food, getting lots of calories, but not being fed, if that makes sense, because the nutrition is not in the food itself. Excuse me. So one of the things that this study showed was that the presentation of cancer in people who actually were imbibing foods that were low nutrient density was significantly higher than in people who did. Now, that's obvious maybe, but it took a great deal of data compilation and a great deal of time, and dare I say a great deal of financial resources, to look at this and actually show and demonstrate again that when we consume foods that don't have the nutrition in them that our bodies need to give it the tools to defend itself, cancer is the result. Now, there's two problems that come with this. One is not having those foodstuffs, those nutrients that the body uses on a cellular level to repair DNA, to create cellular changes, and to create an environment inside the body that isn't conducive to the development of cancer. And that's with or without having a genetic predilection. So we can have a gene and not express it if we have the nutrients to actually give the cells what they need to repair themselves and actually eliminate those cells, repair those cells before they can develop a foothold to become a developmental cancer. The second problem we have is that we get lots of stuff that we don't need. The trans fats, excessive cholesterol, excessive animal-based proteins, food additives, all kinds of things that we're also consuming that create problems in the body and then create a burden, a toxic burden, it's sometimes called, that the body can't fight because it doesn't have enough on this side. There's too little of the nutrients the cells need and then too much of this. So if we had more of this, it can combat this. One of the most dramatic examples that actually was cited in this particular study that has been known for quite some time is looking at the island of Fiji compared to Hawaii. In Fiji, you'll see a lot of people that are actually smoke a lot of cigarettes, which is remarkable, but you go to Fiji and there's people everywhere smoking cigarettes, right? And you go to Hawaii and not many people smoke cigarettes, sort of like in the States, but even on the island of Hawaii, the cigarette smoking rate is very low. But yet on Hawaii itself, the cancer rate in the lung cancer itself, is actually significantly higher than it is on Fiji, almost twice as much. But yet the proportion of people on Fiji who smoke cigarettes is significantly higher than it is on Hawaii. So why in the world would that be? Because we know that cigarette smoking will cause lung cancer. Wow. So what does that exactly? Well, again, it's the nutrition. It's actually being attributed back to the significant level of greens and fresh vegetables that Fijians eat on an ongoing basis. So the body then has the tools it needs to damage the cell, to repair the damaged cells and help the body express itself more vitally. So what foods exactly are the most nutrient dense that we need? Fruits, vegetables, beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, and to a lesser extent whole grains. So we don't get enough of that stuff. So when Grandma told us to eat our vegetables and Mom said eat your broccoli, she was exactly right. And again, we have one more very large cohort study that actually shows us that this is indeed the case. So what we're going to do is focus a little bit more to give the body the tools it needs to actually create that cellular environment, to repair itself in that cellular environment so cancer never develops. And again, that's with or without a genetic predilection. kind of interesting stuff, and an amazing study that we need to keep in mind when we sit down and put the fork in our hands. So that's our installment of 3 Minutes to Vitality for this time, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so very much.